and welcome to the shed. In today's video we're going to be having a look at the saw set. Hope you enjoy. So I'm sure most of you know what set is when it comes to a hand saw, and that's why you're watching this video, because you want to learn how to use the saw set correctly, which is what we're going to be doing. But first, for those of you that are unfamiliar with saw set, what it is setting the teeth. So I like to refer to it as offset. So we're offsetting the teeth to be slightly wider than the thickness of the saw plate, so when you saw through, it doesn't bind itself in the cut. So we've got essentially what's called a kerf added by adding set, and so the kerf is the line left by the saw teeth as it saws through, and it's going to make it slightly larger than the saw plate so it doesn't get stuck. So when it comes to the saw sets, we have two different types. We have this straight line style and we have this pistol style. My preferred one is this style because your hands are a little further away, but this one does get very good vision of what you're doing on the top. This one's a little smaller, so it's a little harder to actually use just in the top here. You can see all the componentry is much smaller there. So out of these two, this one is called a Somac 250. It's a much newer one, probably built around the 2000s. Production of these ones has actually stopped at the moment, but I do believe there is a Stanley one out there that might still be in production, so I will be having a look to see if I can find that one for you. But these ones are available on eBay quite inexpensively, so at least here in Australia, so yeah, you can pick these ones up. And these vintage style, well, I picked this one up for $10 at a local sort of swap meet thing, but you know, it works very well. It was completely rusty and the person had no idea what it was, so you can pick these styles up. This one here, this particular one, has more crude adjustments in its mechanism just here, and is really designed for a much larger tooth, whereas this one is designed and can still be used on the larger tooth, but this one's more specialized for teeth with much smaller teeth. So this one I use for most of my smaller saws, my dovetail saws, my smaller 10-inch saws, and this one I tend to use on my panel saws that have much larger teeth. So, but either of them can be used for either or, but you do, when you get up to the much larger saw teeth, so much lower teeth per inch, you do need a larger saw set to set them correctly. And when you go right up to these largest styles up here, these big cross-cut saws, you use a pair of pliers. It's an adjustment plier that loops over the top and bends the tooth either way because you're bending very, very big teeth. So the best way to learn how to use it is to actually learn the various parts. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this apart quickly. So we've got a screw here that holds this handle in place. So we're going to just quickly undo that. So we have that one screw pin, and we've got this handle here, and then we have the back thing. So this is our little striking plate. So this is our hammer that's moved back and forth by the handle using this little spring just here. And then we have our larger housing with another spring, and this is a plate that pushes forwards and holds the saw set onto the plate, and then the anvil comes through and strikes through it here under the leverage of this handle. You can't really do it by hand because these springs are actually very strong springs. So that's what we've got in the back here. And then on this other side here, we have a retaining screw, and this is called the anvil. Now you'll notice that there's this swirl shape on here, and that means that as we spin this little anvil plate around, we change the angle or how much set we're putting on to the sawtooth when we squeeze it. So it has numbers on the top here going from, I think it's 4 all the way around to 12. Yes, 4 around to 12. So the idea with these initially was that the amount of teeth per inch, you would set it to that number, but in practice, if you have a 12 teeth per inch saw and you put it on 12, it's going to give it too much set, in my opinion. So essentially what I do is set everything to the number 10. And so I'll do all my smaller saws with that number 10. Even the bigger ones, for the most part, you can do at 10. And I'll leave some methods down below or show you where I explain how to actually do the whole setting thing, because we're not going to go through the whole setting process here. We're just showing you how these saw sets work today. So I will leave the link down below for the entire process, and you'll see how I do a hammering method to reduce the set and how you can stone the side of it. I've got a couple of videos, so I'll leave them down below if you're interested in the full process. So in order to adjust this, you undo this retaining screw on the top and you spin the little anvil around, as you can see here. So I'm going to go to the number 10. Then what I like to do is squeeze this down and hold it. So the little hammer in here that I showed you just a moment ago needs to line up with the middle of the number, and in this case it's 10, and that's what I've done. And then I'll lock this down. So now you can just see here where the tip of the knife is on the top there, it's set to number 10, and when we squeeze that, our hammer comes through and hits dead in the middle of it. I know it's a little small and I hope you can see that. So you can see the number 10 just here in the middle, and then the hammer lines up in the middle of it. And this screw is locked right down, that's what holds it all together. So let me grab a saw here and I'll show you the correct way to use this. It's pretty simple, but we're just going to go through the motions. When we're using one of these saw sets, we obviously want to look down from the top of the saw here, and we can see that every saw that we've already got, unless we're returfing it, already has set to it. So the set is going to offset like this. So you got one tooth that way, one tooth that way. So you'll want to look for the teeth that are facing away from you. So the ones that are pushing down. So you can look down and you'll see that they're sort of crisscrossed like so. And so that's what we're looking for here. So teeth that are away from us. So to use one of these saw sets, and I'll show you from a couple of different angles here. So first I'll just show you from the front, and then I'll try and get you right in here above me so you can see what I'm seeing from the top. So you can see on the saw set here we have these two flat pieces just here. And that runs through on both sides, and you can see that there's actually paint missing, and that's because when you're using this you want to engage that fully down nice and flat with it resting on here. And that's why some people like to set the saw teeth before they sharpen, so they don't blunten it using a metal object. I'm kind of on the fence. I usually just sharpen it and then set it because I'm pretty careful, because you're not really jamming it down, it's just resting, so you shouldn't really be dragging it and blunting the teeth. So the idea is that comes down, and I like to hold it on this front knob just here, that front bolt. It's nailed. Get a good grip with your two fingers like this. And what I do is I hold this anvil and I try to keep it as flat against that as possible. Then I lightly squeeze the hammer, and remember there was that back piece that grabs. So this piece that's moving in here first, that grabs the plate. So we line it up and we let that grab the plate. So now that's grabbing it, it's holding it engaged. We've got it down flat. This is the point where we fully engage everything and we look at what we need to be doing. So it's in there. Yep. So we've got that on there. We've got it grabbed. We haven't engaged the hammer yet. So then all we do, fully squeeze the handle down. The little hammer comes across, meets the sawtooth, pushes it against the anvil at the angle that's already set on it. We're done. Then you move on to the next tooth, the next tooth, the next tooth, turn the saw around, move on to the next tooth, the next tooth, next tooth on the other side, and then your setting is done. Now you want to make sure that you don't miss teeth if you can avoid it. On one this size, it's pretty easy to get them all, but when you get down to a saw like this, which is 20 teeth per inch, which I don't really recommend going any lower than about 16, because at 20 teeth per inch this is very hard to set. It's actually also very, very hard to sharpen, and so I don't really recommend going any lower than about 16 teeth per inch. But you know, these 20 teeth per inch saws are on the market, and they're generally pretty competitive in pricing, and so sometimes you might get one of those. If you can avoid it, I would, but yeah, they are very hard to set, just so you're aware. So let me bring it in here, and I'll bring you into what I was seeing when we were doing that now. So you can see here, hopefully, that we've got these teeth facing away, these ones facing towards us, so we want to choose the ones facing away. That's pretty simple. So we come in, and I hold it like this, as I said before, And we've got the middle of the 10 lined up with the tooth. Then we're going to squeeze and bring this back piece in here. So this back holder piece just here is jamming between the anvil and the saw plate holding it there. So now I can take my hand away and you can see it's held there. You can see that it's flexing the plate. Then all you do is squeeze it, and you can see the little hammer here that I showed you before comes in, jams the plate against the anvil, and we're done. Move across, do the next one, move across, do the next one. Although I was just showing you the saw sets today, I just wanted to make you aware that you can do this, and it was done quite a bit back in the day, using a punch and a hammer, or sometimes even like a nail or a screw and a hammer, and just tap the teeth against a piece of wood, and you can set them that way. It does give more uneven results, and it's a little bit more tricky than just using a tool, but I think you should be aware that you don't have to go out and buy one of these just to set your saw, but if you want to do it easily, I do recommend them. And I'll leave the video down below where I showed you how to set it with a punch and a hammer, which does take a little bit to get used to. So yeah, do find that one down below if you're interested in that. So there you have it, folks. That's really all there is to setting a saw using a saw set. It's not a very difficult process. They're fairly basic tools, but it's good to know the various parts. It's good to know how to take them apart. It's good to know how to service them, and then know exactly what's going on when you're actually using it. So you have a little more sympathy for the tool you're using, understand it a lot better, and then you'll be able to use it easier. And that's what I reckon, in my opinion. So if you like this video, please do like and subscribe down below. While you're down there, do sound off in the comments. What's your experience with saw sets? What's your experience with various ones that are available? Do let me know down below, because I'm interested to see if what I'm telling you all is the same as what you out there who have been using them for a while believe as well. And if you'd like to see another great video such as this one here today, do check out the two videos on screen up here. One of them for how you actually set the saw, and another one for how to actually use the punch and hammer method for setting a saw. Bye for now.